Not enough can be said about all the great backgrounds found in old school shoot-'em-ups. I'm talking about the iconic Fire Planet in Thunder Force 3, the neon-drenched city in Einhander, and who can forget the fight through the storm clouds in UN Squadron? I bring these up to remind myself what it's like to play in front of a great background, because the new game Habroxia doesn't have any of those. This is a shoot-'em-up where every level looks the same, and the backgrounds are always the empty darkness of space. Boy, what I wouldn't give for a cool fire level right about now. Habroxia is a shoot-'em-up so generic that it doesn't even bother with the story. There's no preamble about aliens threatening Earth, no characters that have to bravely go it alone, and not even a name for the experimental ship you're probably flying. It's just a game where you're flying from left to right and occasionally from down to up in order to shoot down the same 3 or 4 bad guys before making your way to a boring old boss fight. Do this 15 times and the so-called story mode ends, giving you not even a single word of explanation of what just happened. The most interesting part of the gameplay is that you can not only shoot to the right, but you can also kill bad guys on the floor and ceiling by shooting up and down. Holding both triggers together will combine the 2 types of fire into a helpful spread shot. You'll want to shoot down enemies and destroy parts of the level to collect the credits that you can use to increase the size of that spread, as well as upgrade the power, health, fire rate, and more. This is the easiest and fastest way to make your ship unstoppable. But the truth is, the ship you're flying is already pretty much unstoppable without any of these upgrades. The first 2/3 of Habroxia is easy to the point of being boring. Even if you can't somehow avoid the slow-moving enemy fire, there's plenty of health pickups floating around. And it's not just that I didn't lose a single life in the first 10 stages, but also that I wasn't even worried about dying. I mean, there were never points where I felt like I needed to pay close attention to the bullet patterns or learn a boss's vulnerability. I'm convinced the first 2/3 of this game is here just to put you to sleep. Now, the difficulty spikes with the final 5 stages, which brings me to the game's other big problem. It's easily exploited. Because so much relies on you upgrading the different parts of the craft, it feels like the game pushes you towards grinding for credits. This comes in the way of replaying stages, but you'll quickly realize that there's a particularly short boss fight that gives you a tidy sum for winning. Best of all, you'll get to the point where you won't even need to move around or dodge any of the bullets to defeat the boss. You can just stay in one place, hold the trigger, collect the credits, rinse and repeat. Do that a few more times and you'll be ready to take on the slightly more challenging final third. The problem with grinding for credits is that you begin to notice just how generic everything about this game is. There's nothing interesting about the ship you're flying, the enemies you're killing, or the levels you're playing. In fact, I'd argue that every single stage looks exactly the same. They basically use the same floors and ceilings, the same space background, the same bad guys, the same obstacles, and the same destructible environments. Even the bosses are painfully dull shapes with no personality. I fought against one of these at least a dozen times trying to extract credits, yet I doubt I could even tell you what it looked like. That spells a larger problem for Habroxia. Even though I played through the entire game in a single sitting and saw everything it has to offer, I honestly doubt I'm going to remember anything about Habroxia a day from now. It's one of the reasons I felt I needed to rush out a review, because there's absolutely nothing memorable about this game. Procrastination would only lead me to having to play through the game a second time, and I definitely don't want to do that. If what you're looking for is the most generic shoot-'em-up on the market, then let me introduce you to Habroxia. Anybody looking for an exciting action game with some sort of personality, then you better look elsewhere. This is a painfully bland slog through 15 of the dullest stages you'll ever see. It's a paint-by-number shooter that wouldn't have cut it in 1989, let alone 2019. Ugh, Habroxia is the video game equivalent of hitting the snooze button. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now here's the question I have for you. What's the most boring game you've ever played? I'm talking about the game that puts you to sleep. Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, I've put on an extra pair of pants because Review-mageddon doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. Still have a couple dozen reviews to get through, so we'll see how that goes. In the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,